From the 915 to H-Town, from the Panhandle Plains to the Valley, and everywhere in between. This is the 50/50 Podcast, powered by National Scouting Report. Join me, Hector Cano, as we cover the Texas high school club and college soccer landscape, along with an inside look at the college soccer recruiting scene. The 50/50 Podcast is a platform about the people and for the people who are dedicated to the beautiful game. Here we go. It's a season premiere edition of Inside Texas High School Soccer, the return of Inside Texas High School Soccer, season 4, episode 1, the preview show. I am back, your host, Coach Hector Cano, along with my lovely co-hosts, as I like to call them, right? The Obi-Wan Kenobi of Texas High School Soccer, Coach Rafa, Mr. Papa Socceritis himself. Coach, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
How's Galveston?
It was good. You know, the weather, man, the weather, complete opposite from last year. It was gorgeous, man. It was, what was it? I think Saturday morning too. Friday morning was like, it was, you could have, if you would have looked out the hotel and told somebody you're in San Diego, they would have believed you. It was just that awesome. So it was great. It was great. Moody Gardens, the 2023 TASCO Texas High School Soccer Coaches Convention is in the books. We'll obviously talk a little bit more about that today, but it was great. It was phenomenal. And also joining us is the Rook, right? The rookie still, right? We get to pick on him through the end of this year, right? So
I need a nickname like Rafa. He was Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's cool.
He is our, well, hey, I tried to tell you the Cruton, you know what, but you didn't want to go for it. So,
I forget.
Yeah, he is our very own recruiting insider, Mr. Frank Court Jr. the third. No emphasis on junior, of course. So, Frank, what's up, brother? How are you?
Not much. Just working. Happy to be back on the pod. Happy to talk to y'all about some soccer. I'm stoked for the season. A lot of the athletes that I worked with are now like becoming seniors and stuff like that. So it's just cool to see all their stuff come to fruition. I saw some kids that I know commit and stuff like that. So just excited for the future and excited for the season.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? Like they're in high school. They're getting ready to go in college, graduate high school. Some of the first ones when you and I worked together at College Promoters USA, they're already in what they're finishing.
Juniors in college.
Yeah, second year of college already. I was like, oh my God. So yeah, I'm getting old. So awesome. So what else is new, guys? Before we kind of dive into things a little bit, tell us kind of some things of what has you excited. What are you looking forward to this year in just the Texas high school soccer season, and as well as season 4 of Inside Texas High School Soccer?
I think the biggest thing, probably maybe the headline is a couple. To me, I'm thinking in the back of my mind, it's like, is Salina going to three-peat? That's the one I've been thinking since the last interview we did with them back in April. It's like, are they going to do it again?
Sweet. Frank, what about you?
I'm just excited to see how like different ways that we can integrate the newsletter and the Inside Texas Soccer and maybe get out to some games this year. Last year I was always busy at like 7. So this year I'll have some more availability and I could come, maybe catch the Brahmas game.
There you go. Oh, look at that. Listen to you. Awesome. So we'll definitely get into more of that as well at some point. But yeah. I mean, I'm excited. It's going to be a great year. Phenomenal. So much. Little maybe anxious. I feel like I'm more anxious this year, maybe a little bit more nervous. So because I'm back on the public school side, back on the UIL side, right? Which is where I was originally when the podcast launched in December of 2020. So yeah, I mean, next month we turn 3 years old already. So the plan is to have a 3-year small little anniversary, very informal episode with a bunch of different guests and just have some fun as well. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, I'm a little nervous, a little excited, to be back on the public side and be coaching again in the UIL side. And I think a lot of the coaches in Galveston reminded me of that last week,
Yeah.
right? So it was fun. It's good. I'm excited. Got a great group of young ladies that I've been tasked to help out, and I'm excited to work with them there at MacArthur. So definitely excited for that's a podcast in itself, but yeah, excited
Can
for
I ask
sure.
a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
The 2022 to 2023 MacArthur high school soccer season will be a success if
The 2022, did you just say that? Isn't that
20, my bad. 20. I'm way behind. I'm still wearing a mask. 23 to 24.
will be a success if
Mm-hmm.
well, hopefully if I'm still there, still have a job, hopefully it'll be a success, right? I'm not fired for no, but yeah, you know how it is. This is where I kind of give a little bit of coach speak. I think from my perspective, it's very much a excuse me. I actually mentioned this when we were interviewing the McKinney Boyd coaching staff, right, last week at Tasco. Is we have a great group of young ladies, great group of leaders, and I feel like they're buying in. I really do. And as a first year coach, as a first year coach, the culture implementation piece is always such a heavy aspect, right? Especially in your first 2 to 3 years, but especially in your first year, right? But you know, it's not an excuse. It's the reality of the situation that I'm going into, and it's how tough and how strong our girls are there at Mac. Is our seniors, they're on their third coach in 4 years. Our juniors, they're on their third coach in 3 years, right? So um, that's how resilient they are, right? And so I'm excited, and definitely don't want to disappoint them. And obviously, I think our big one of our big I guess mottos, themes, if you will, already has been to believe, right? To simply believe, right? Taking a little script from Ted Lasso there, but
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I think they're capable of great things. They just have to find someone to believe in them, and I feel like they do. I feel like they have that in both myself and our coaching staff, my assistant. So yeah, so I'm excited. I think as long as they continue to buy in, and as I mentioned to in the McKinney Boyd interview, is if we can stay healthy, right? That's such a big
Mm-hmm.
one. Stay healthy as well. So I think all coaches can attest to that one for sure. So awesome. So anything else? Any other reattacks there, Frank? Nice little sneaky question there.
No, that was it. That was it. I've been preparing that one.
I know. I like
Yeah,
it.
well, I'm looking forward to because, like I said, I've seen the team from last year because I did get to see them play. I mean, like I said, not to give too much out, but like I said, the talent's there,
Yeah.
and for me personally, I think there's some good things on the horizon especially with this team, and just having conversations with you, I see something good in the future. Some I think these girls deserve it. I think they work hard, and I think that all this hard work's going to pay off for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I think deserve is always such a dangerous word, right? It's one that we don't really. I try not to use in our program because it's deserve at on a certain level. I've always felt like implies a certain level of entitlement, right? Of a hey, we did all this and we should be kind of at this point be given this, and that's, as you and I both know, we all know that in the game, just as in life, that's not how it works, right? So yeah, so earning it and then still having to know that you have to take it. So for sure. So awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. But at this time, we're going to go ahead. We're going to bring in our very first special guest of season 4. He is Coach Eduardo Venegas, the head women's soccer coach of the Georgetown Eagles. Coach, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, man? Pretty good. Thanks for having me in the show. Big fan of the show. Thank you guys for everything that you guys do for Texas high school soccer, and looking forward to talk some high school soccer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Excited to have you here, Coach. Likewise, big fan of what you've done, what you've been building there. As you and I got to speak last week in Galveston, and everybody's really, you're kind of in a unique situation, right? Because everyone starts the year trying to get to where you where you call home, right? Where you play your home games and where you practice every day. So, um, how do you handle that perspective? How do you pitch that to your program, to your ladies every day, since it's the final spot of where every team is trying to get there in Georgetown?
I mean, that's something that we talk about, like something we talked about last year. I mean, the girls kind of came up with the saying, back to Birkelbach,
Hmm.
once we hit playoffs, and they just kind of ran with that. But I mean, personally, man, I thought it was one of the coolest experiences, like being able to see the entire school there for the semifinal against Frisco. You know, that was so cool. The girls loved it. And it's just, I mean, we always mention it, like when we have for like our practices, at the end of practices, like we envision being there again, you know, being there in the state tournament. We take a couple seconds to envision that and to see like what it feels like. I tell them all the time, imagine the stands filled with your friends, students, administration, teachers, like everybody, you know. And I mean, that's what we do to talk about that. Yeah. Mhm.
Awesome. And you look back on last year briefly, one last time, or in the so far up to now, how often have you found yourself referencing it's a new year, obviously it's a new season, it's a new team, you graduated a good group of talent,
Yep.
many of them who are playing at the next level, but now it's a new year, it's a new team, but you still kind of want to build off of what you accomplished last year, since you had that incredible historic run to Birkelbach, obviously in the state tournament.
Mhm.
How often have you found yourself referencing last year to this year's team?
Quite a little bit actually. One of the things I think that made our team so successful last year was the chemistry that the girls had.
Mhm.
It was a very tight group, and that's something that we bring up all the time. It's just like we got to keep the chemistry going. Uh, but at the same time, like you say, you know, it's a new year, so you don't want to keep going back to what we did last year because, I mean, it was a cool experience and everything, but you got to start from zero again. You know,
Right.
you're starting from zero again. Uh, so we do talk about it a little bit, the chemistry part, what worked, like what went right that got us to that point last year, things like that, like so we can keep improving, like keep working on those things and do them again. But overall, I mean, it's a new year, so we're starting fresh from zero again, and that's been the motto this year. Like we're starting again from zero.
Yeah. Rafa?
Coach, looking back, like I said, you guys had a real incredible run. You know, getting to play there at home. Um, how do you feel about this year? Like, what's going to be maybe the difference maker this year to get you over the hump and lift that trophy there at your home stadium?
Man, we're excited about this year. Like I'm super pumped for it. So our preseason schedule is it's pretty loaded. Uh, we go to the Woodlands and then we come back to our 2 weekends of the Governor's Cup that we host here. So we load our preseason with top ranked teams that have played in state tournament before. And we want to challenge ourselves from the beginning. So I think like hopefully seeing those teams in the preseason and being competitive against those teams, it's going to help us in the long run once we get back to the state semifinal again and be able to get over the hump to play in the final. You know, I mean, our preseason, like we're going to the Woodlands, we have Klein Kane, San Antonio Johnson, and the Woodlands to start off our first 3 games. You know, then we come back to Georgetown. We play state champions Grapevine. Following weekend with Colleyville Heritage and Smithson Valley.
Wow.
You know, so we have a loaded preseason. We did it on purpose because we want to challenge ourselves, and hopefully like grow from that. You know, like I talked to a lot of the other coaches, Coach Rich, who's our men's coach at Georgetown, a good friend of mine, and we're always like, you know, if we want to beat the best, we have to play the best teams. You know, and I mean, hopefully it pays off in the long run.
Right. And how do you find, what are you hoping to find out, right? Because that's kind of a gauntlet, right, of a preseason schedule there, Coach, or an early, non-district schedule, tournament schedule, right? Try to avoid calling it preseason, but because we're in season, but yeah,
Correct.
yeah, that always confuses people. But what do you what are maybe some key things you're looking for? What would you like to learn by the time you come out of that non-district schedule, that tournament schedule, as you start heading into district? What are some key pieces of information that you would like to know by then?
I would like to know who our playmakers up top are going to be. Like you mentioned earlier, like we lost a few good pieces up top. Like overall, they're playing at the next level, and three starters that were our forwards that played up top. But at the same time, we had a group of juniors and sophomores that were behind those three seniors, and they waited patiently. Now it's their term. So I really want to see who steps up, what kind of chemistry does the team have through those games, and how's the team going to react in different scenarios. I believe that it like depends who you're playing. Like if we want to try out a new system or we want to try out new things, you have to do it against the best teams. Otherwise, I mean, anything you do will work against other teams. But if you're playing the best teams and you're like, if it works against the best, then we must be doing something right. So I think that's the main thing. Like I want to find out how do we do when we face adversity. I want to find out who our playmakers are up top and what kind of chemistry does this team have.
Right. So what do you gave us a great quote earlier. Can you expand on that a little bit in terms of just maybe one or two key things that have you excited about this group this year? Maybe using last year as a launch pad into this year. What has you excited the most maybe about this group this year?
Man, it's just being able to watch our younger players take new roles this year. Last year we had two freshmen that started for us, Emmy Benson and Finley Newell. They started as freshmen. They did a great job. And I want to see them in a new role this year. Like they're as leaders, like they're not the freshmen anymore. I want to see what kind of role they take with like us being the leaders of the team. I want to see our juniors from last year, who are captains now, step up and see how they lead this team. I mean, just things like that that I'm excited for. I also want to see we got two new freshmen on our team this year who are ready to contribute in varsity. So I'm ready to watch them play the older girls, and I want to watch them against competition like Grapevine, San Antonio Johnson. I want to see what our girls are able to do now. Now that they got a little taste of last year, referencing back to last year, they got a little taste of it. I'm ready to see how hungry they are to go for the whole thing now.
That's awesome. Yeah, Rafa.
Going into District 23 5A, how do you see any teams that maybe kind of to look out for that may kind of challenge you this year, knowing what you guys did last year? Any teams that kind of catches your eye?
Absolutely. I mean, you got Hendrickson. Coach McKinley does a great job. Hendrickson is a historic program who won state not too long ago. They're always a challenge. You always have teams like Eastview, who's our crosstown rival, who's always going to give you a tough game. So our district it's an interesting district. It's pretty tough. You have everybody's plays with different styles, and every single team has 3-4 girls that are really good. And if you don't show up one of those, like to play those games, they can make you pay, so it's a tough district. And of course, I mean, Hendrickson, I would say, is our toughest competition in the district. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. As we start to wrap up here, Coach, because I know we don't want to keep you, and we're grateful to have you here. Tell us, so a couple more questions for you real quick. One of those tournaments that you referenced in non-district before you entered district play is your own tournament, right? In the Governor's Cup. Tell us a little bit about that. Give us kind of the dates, the information, and some of the schools that are coming.
All right. So our Governor's Cup is actually called a Governor's Cup Series. It's a 3-weekend event that we host. Week 1, which I believe is January 4th through the 6th, is the boys weekend. So it's boys teams only. And we have teams from all over the state. The El Paso, Bel Air is coming from for week 1.
Mhm.
We
Look
have
out
the
for those guys.
Dallas.
Look out
What's
for
up?
those guys. I said, look out for those guys. I don't know if you
Oh,
can
yeah.
trust those guys.
Our boys are playing them in week 1, so I'm excited to watch them.
I graduated from there, so that's
Oh,
why.
yeah. So, I mean, all those teams, like, what I like about the Governors Cup is you have teams from all over the state. You have the top teams from all over the state. You have your big Dallas teams like South Lake Carroll, Marcus, Prosper. They get to play teams from South Texas, San Antonio, Houston, El Paso area. Then week 2, we have what we call our elite weekend, which is boys and girls. So we have that for week 2, and then week 3 is the girls weekend. And that's where we have the big Dallas teams like South Lake Carroll, Marcus, Prosper, Highland Park. They all come down to Georgetown to play the different teams from all over the state. So overall, we end up hosting, I want to say, I have it down right here. It's 38 week 1, 44 teams week 2, and 42 teams week 3. So it's over 100 teams that we host in 3 weekends. We actually looked this up with Coach Rich, and it's the biggest high school tournament in the U.S. Nobody else hosts that many teams, and how talented the teams are too. It's not just hosting, but watching great competition, watching great games, and I think the venue also has a lot to do with it, because those teams want to make a long run. They want to come play in the stadium, Berkeley, and they want to get used to that and have their routine and kind of like scope the place out, like the city, things like that. Mm-hmm.
How have you seen that? Maybe over the last few years, how have you seen that? Because and you're right, it's not just a single weekend, right? It's kind of a series. How have you seen that kind of grow in terms of whether it's popularity, the teams, the demand for teams wanting to? How have you seen that grow and materialize?
So it has grown number-wise. It blew up after kind of like the COVID year. We had lots of requests to come play in the tournament. So I think in the past 3-4 years, it has really expanded. We expanded the teams out a little bit because we didn't used to host that many teams. So we kind of expanded the tournament now a little bit with more numbers. And we use different venues now. We have our high school field that we use, so like all fields are turf. Berkeley, Georgetown High School, Eastview, we use Eastview High School fields. And a couple of the middle schools that also have great fields. We have great facilities, and it helps a lot to expand and make the tournament bigger. But it has grown a lot since then. Since we always had the talent, we always had the big teams, but lately it's expanded with like the different South Texas teams now and Houston teams. We have the Kingwood teams, Kingwood Park. We used to have a lot of San Antonio teams come, but I think with the realignment last 2 years, the districts got bigger and they weren't able to make it. But hopefully we can get them back next realignment.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue into one of my last remaining questions, coaches. Thoughts in terms of, obviously, it's kind of screenshot day, right around Halloween time. Do you have any thoughts on that in terms of how that will affect you guys, might affect you guys, or what you've heard, what you can share? I know some of it is still speculative, but what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you never know with all the realignment stuff. I know there's people that really look into it. We always kind of bounce between Region 4 and Region 3. I mean, I'll be honest with you. We're kind of like in Region 3, so hopefully we get to stay in Region 3. Region 4 wasn't too kind to us the past 2 years. We had good teams, but we always faced. We were in the district with City Park and Liberty Hill, and they were really good teams. Rouse, Leander, and we got third place both years. But it was a great district. It's one of those games. It was one of those districts that always went into the final game. And it was always like Liberty Hill, Georgetown, and Cedar Park going into the final game for first place, and we always got to see Berkeley champion first round, and we were on the wrong end of that a couple of times, but I mean, I think we're gonna stay 5A. You know, from the numbers and but there's so much growth in Georgetown that
right.
I mean, the numbers, you can see the growth in the numbers, both Eastview and Georgetown. Like numbers are way high. You know.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, some great points there, and that's kind of partially why we ask it. So, final one here for you, Coach. Thoughts on Tasco? Obviously, you and I got to chat last week. Didn't get to have you come on the way we kind of would have liked, but it kind of lended itself to this opportunity today. So it worked out even better, I think. But your thoughts, your takeaways from last week's Tasco convention?
Man, I thought Tasco did a great job. They always do a good job. You know, this year I felt there were plenty of presenters that did a great job. You know, I really enjoy watching the Arsenal guy talk about the attacking patterns and all that stuff. You know, like those are things that I want to implement into our practice now. You know, I really like watching Elias Ramos from McKinney Boyd. He had a great presentation. Actually got a chance to talk to him and finally meet him. He's coming to a Governor's Cup too, you know, so we've just been talking back and forth via email. And this weekend we had the chance to finally meet and talk a little soccer and things like that. So that's one thing love about Tasco is just meeting new people, new coaches from different places in Texas and just talking a little soccer, talking about our programs and things like that, you know. But I think Tasco does a great job. They have a little bit of everything. The classroom sessions, the field sessions, they do a great job with all the vendors that they get out there too, you know. So I think they're doing a really good job with that.
Yeah. You know, the overwhelming, I don't know, I guess opinion, coming out of their going into it, but as it was unfolding, that was shared with me was that many people felt that it was without a doubt, arguably the best lineup of presenters, clinicians, everything, what have you. Best lineup that they've ever had, and kind of obviously, I guess you could say I'm a little biased on that, but I agree. I agree from my take, who I got to speak with, interviews that we got to do, just my takeaway. I agree with that part, and then it was kind of a new record attendance too. There was just what was it? I think just under 1,100 total in attendance.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
In attendance for this year's convention. So yeah, it continues to grow, and it's growing the right way. And just so many coaches there that are just they're very humble. And I love the fact that they're there to want to learn from. Doesn't matter whether you're an Arsenal guy or you're a peer, another high school coach, right? I mean, the fact that you just mentioned Adam Birchall from Arsenal and Coach Elias Ramos from McKinney Boyd in back-to-back sentences, I think tells you everything, right? So, well said. All right, excuse me. All right, Coach, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up here, but before we let you go, just kind of wanted to give you give the floor to you, and any shout outs, thank yous, anything you'd like to share as it relates to the game. The floor is yours.
I mean, I just guess thank you for having me on the show. You know, I'm a big fan of the show again, and
yes, sir, thank you.
I mean, shout out to I guess Coach Rich at Georgetown, Malcolm Framji over at Westwood, really good friends of mine, and we're excited for the season. Hopefully, we can build on what we did last year and be back at Breckelbach. You know, you don't want to measure your success and wins and losses, but I think that's our goal is to be back. You know, that's our goal.
Right. Awesome. He is Coach Eduardo Venegas, the head women's soccer coach of the Georgetown Eagles. Coach, appreciate you. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you soon.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. All right, fellas, thoughts?
It's great program. Like Georgetown's always had a history, like I said, of the soccer being one of the best programs in the state of Texas. Not only the boys, but also the girls too. So, so one of the teams to look out for. I'm sure they're good. They're going to be gunning. For that loss there. I know it stings, especially losing at home. I think he'll have them ready to go. I think they'll make another deep run this year. Yeah.
Frank, anything?
I was just reading about the Governor's Ball, what he was talking about it. What a crazy event. or the Governor's Cup. The Governor's Cup. What a crazy event! I bet the concessions must make so much money that those 3 weeks. I also think it's neat that they can like have a place where the state tournament also is played, so that way like teams can get a feel for it. It's a shame we don't have more San Antonio teams. I guess the realignment, like you were saying, we gotta work on that.
Yeah, it's a number of factors, but he's right. From the San Antonio perspective, a little surprised, but good to see that there are some teams making it out there, for sure. So, yeah, I mean, I got to speak with him last week, and I had been speaking with him for a few weeks. We were trying to line something up for Tasco, but of course, the Tasco schedule is always very fluid. So I was kind of disappointed we weren't able to get him on then, but still able to get him on. And we got to chat a little bit last week in Galveston, and just a very, very humble guy. And he's building a great thing there in Georgetown. So thank you to Coach Venegas once again. So, all right, guys, we are going to go ahead. We're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to go ahead and move forward, actually, to, I guess we can go ahead and get started with our actual, what we're going to cover today. And as part of our preview show, here, we basically want to cover a couple of things in terms of what we will go over this year, some of the highlights, some aspects of what we will cover, as well as, there we go. As well as, just some of the things in terms of if you've been following this particular show. So many people, if you're new to the show, right, what is this, right? Some people simply call this the 50/50 podcast. And that is actually, so that's partially correct. So this show here, Inside Texas High School Soccer, which is a spinoff of our network, if you will, of the 50/50 podcast, kind of started. Rafa can attest to this. We kind of stumbled across it by accident, right? When we were first covering the Texas High School State playoffs back in the spring of 2021, and it just kind of took off from there. Kind of had life of its own, I guess, if you will. So when you've seen that, Rafa, from where it is now compared to where we started in, the spring of 2021, what are your thoughts in terms of how you've seen this particular spinoff series grow?
I think the support. I think that's the biggest thing. The support. The coaches like Coach Venegas coming on the shows, talking about the programs. It's finally, there's, like I said, it's one of the outlets to have on here to showcase, high school soccer here instead of Texas. And because football gets all the coverage and so forth, kind of like the king of the hill, right? They're in the playoffs right now. But I think ever since this is, it's really evolved, and now you're seeing more of the the teams being marketed, the graphics on their schedules, and the videos of the players and stuff, and it's really, like I said, it's taken off on, and it's great because it's really to kind of showcase what we have here in our state. And honestly, I think we have some of the best players in the nation here playing here in the state of Texas.
Yeah. And Frank, you've seen it evolve from a little bit different perspective, obviously. So, you and I, having been, former colleagues, coworkers at College Promoters USA, and I know you originally had asked me about this in terms of an explanation and an understanding of what this particular show is about. Give us maybe your perspective.
Oh man, how it's grown. I remember I had COVID one year, and I was like backlogged on all the podcasts for the year, and I like listened to every single one of y'all's pod. I think it was season 2, maybe. I listened to like every single one. The one where the last episode.
So you're the one. You're the one. You're the one.
That's me.
You're the one.
I listened to that 4-hour episode like twice on ×2. It was hilarious. Broadly, I would just say, y'all keep pushing the narrative of like growing the game of soccer in the state, and I think it's awesome. Like Rafa was saying, I think Texas has the best athletes in any sport, full stop. And I think it's awesome that y'all are just putting a platform out for these guys and girls to go chase it. And I think it's awesome. I like Rafa's point about the graphics too. there are so many more soccer programs on Twitter now. There are so many more even rural accounts being out there pushing it. So I definitely think that y'all have a big part to play in it, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, and and we'll talk, and I know you'll jump in here and you'll hit on some of this in terms of some of the plans this year, as well as because you're also our editor, right, for our newsletter, and then our eventual website that will be coming at some point. It may be delayed. it may be delayed a little while, because the plan was to originally get that off the ground before the start of this current school year that we're in, but we didn't like some of the things that we were seeing, or some of the options that we had, so we didn't put that on hold. We just kind of wanted to say, it's like, hey, we're going to continue to shop for the right stuff until we're ready to launch. So that is still coming. All right. So I know I get that question from time to time. But yeah, so essentially, what is Inside Texas High School Soccer? It's a spinoff series from the 50/50 podcast itself, and where we will dive into and talk anything and everything Texas high school soccer, specifically different programs, different regions, in any given week, in any given episode, I should say. In collaboration with our partners, our good friends over at the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable, they will take the larger focus here, as you'll see, from the San Antonio perspective. So 7 key items that we're looking at, right? In addition to multiple guests that we'll have on an end of year championship series, where we'll have different championship teams and coaches come on as well. And then an end of season episode as well. But these are some of the key, key ingredients, if you will, key aspects of what we will look at. So, Rafa, we talk about the upcoming local tournaments and the game of the week coverage. Talk to those two a little bit, please.
Yeah, with the upcoming local tournaments, I'm starting to see, like I said, more quality teams actually come to San Antonio. I know with a lot of the districts, having 10-team districts or 9-team districts, they want to get it right when it comes to some of these tournaments, and they're building really good tournaments. I'll give some examples, like the Ranger Classic for the boys and the girls. We were there last year, and for the girls tournament, that was a great some great games. We saw some surprise teams. Like, that's when we got kind of introduced to New Braunfels Canyons, the Lady Cougars. They kind of came out of nowhere, and they really made a statement in that tournament. And then you have the Northeast ISD Showcase, you got the Northside Showcase, you get the Southwest tournament. They got some quality, teams going to that one. So there's some great tournaments. Like I said, also the Schertz, Clemens, and also our teams, our local teams in San Antonio. They're also going out to some of the premier tournaments outside, like the Governor's Cup. They're in Dallas, the Houston's, the I-10 shootout. But we're here locally in San Antonio. We're gonna have some upcoming great tournaments, and I'm looking forward to it. And then the game of the week, like I said, we did. I know me and Steve did quite a few of some of the games, and we also we were able to get some good quality, some drama-filled games that were kind of back and forth.
Right.
But and I think we even did one. I think two. There's some at Northside, and it was great. So I'm looking forward to it again. I think this time, like at this go around, I think we're going to really kind of dive into which games really to focus on. And like I say, we're not saying we're just going to pick the favorites and so forth. We want to see who are the key games, and I might, like I said, I'll even put out some polls like, hey, who should be our game of the week and so forth.
There you go.
Kind of like what they do there, like with the football here, like the local stations here and stuff.
Yeah, awesome. So we move on here to kind of items 3, 4, and 5. So local power rankings, not to be confused with the RPI, which we'll get into in a minute, right? Everyone's favorite, the RPI, right? And then coach and player spotlight, and then Cinderellas and dark horses that will be highlighted as well. And again, these will be these are San Antonio specific here, much of which will be covered from time to time. We will cover some of that, but this will be done more primarily through the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. So talk a little bit about those, Coach.
Yeah, so me and Harry already kind of been talking about, this upcoming season. Like I said, looking at the power rankings, I've already seen some rankings, I guess regional wise. But I'm ready. Hopefully soon I'll have the RPIs not only for the state, the pound for pound. I do pound for pound. I don't really do by the three, separate them by the three classifications. I want to do kind of like boxing. Who's the best? Who's the Canelo Alvarez of Texas high school soccer? So that's how I do the power rankings. Also do them low, for the San Antonio area. And I already kind of get an idea. Hopefully that'll be coming out soon in the next coming weeks to release those. Also looking at the coaches spotlights. We, like I said, here in San Antonio, we got some great coaches. I've talked to kind of a few of them, especially with my job. I got to talk to the Tafts coach not too long ago. He was really looking for this season, and then also talk about the Cinderellas and the dark horses. We had a couple Cinderellas last year, and a couple dark horses.
Never fails.
So,
never fails.
Yeah, you never fails. Not only locally but also like statewide. You have some of those teams in, but that's what makes it fun, especially when we do the bracketology. Who are those dark horses and who's going to wear that slipper get to Georgetown.
Right. And then we wrap up with both our district outlooks and local realignment impact, kind of along the lines of that conversation, right, that we just had with Coach Venegas from Georgetown. Tell us a little bit about those two, Coach.
Yeah, the district outlooks, like I said, we'll touch on which teams are the favorites to win the district titles. The beginning of the playoffs, who will be in contention. Hopefully we'll have those out soon. Like I said, it ties in back to like your dark horses and Cinderellas, but more with the district on the district side. And then the realignment, that's kind of been the big talk the last since the numbers, they did the snapshots, and it's coming soon. Like I said, we're only a couple months away, and I'm already hearing kind of theories. I know from the football side, but that kind of works into a little bit with soccer and who's moving up, who's moving down. And I know like in the here in San Antonio, there could be a couple teams from the 5A maybe pushing up back to 6A and vice versa, and same thing in the 4A level. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in February, how that's going to shape for the 2025 season.
Yeah. Now, from the local realignment perspective, in terms of speculation or numbers reported, Coach, has there been maybe a school that's really either that you're watching closely or you've heard you received some information that has really intrigued you? Has there been a particular school maybe?
The ones I've seen, I guess, for the snapshot of the numbers, like Medina, I'm going to use Medina Valley. They talking to them, because like I said, I did a college with them not too long ago, talking to their counselor, and I was asking about their numbers, and they're at 20. I think they had a snapshot close to 2,600 students. So, so you're going to probably end up seeing them in 6A. Now, are they going to be put into, with the Northside District since it's already have 10 teams, or are they going to get pushed out west and they end up playing, like Del Rio, Eagle Pass, and the Laredo schools? That's going to be, that's a big question mark there, because I do know they are going to be building a second school, so maybe that way that brings them back to the 5A. And then also New Braunfels, early 6A. They just opened a new school, and that's going to drop them down to 5A, and in 2025, that may one of the teams to to look out. Boys and girls, to kind of cause havoc here in Region 4 for 5A. And so those are kind of like two of the examples of the upcoming impacts of the realignment.
Somehow I feel like the New Braunfels one just kind of, and maybe it was just me, but I feel like that one just kind of snuck up on people, right? There's a lot of other schools out there talking, or, that there was speculation about as far as they're going to go up, they're going to go down, they're going to stay. But somehow, I don't know, it just seems like New Braunfels kind of fell under the radar. And I don't know, some people just, or maybe out of sight, out of mind from the perspective of the new school that was getting ready to open up, and people forgot about that. And it just wasn't being spoken enough about. And then now they report numbers for screenshot date. And now it seems like it's a number, I think, that got a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah. And I think there's other schools too, like Swenson Valley. Are they going to move back up to 6A? I know that's something we've discussed since you live in near that area. Are they going to move up? Is Piper going to move up to 6A? Are there any other teams, from the 5As like SAISD? I know they're closing. I heard like on the news closing some schools. Is that going to affect them? Maybe drop down to 4A. Some of those dropping on the 4A. It's going to be interesting coming, come February, how it's going to shape up, and who's, especially like I said, the one is going to be interesting is going to be the 5A, because 5A could end up getting a little bit more. Add a couple more powerhouse teams, like Davenport. Who knows? Davenport may even move up to 5A. If you imagine that, Davenport and New Braunfels in 5A, with maybe Simpson Valley stays and Piper stays,
along with what sounds like a Bernie that's moving up as well.
Yeah, Bernie, both, that could be a very brutal district, kind of like some of the ones that we see in the North Texas,
right,
in the North Texas area.
Yeah, for sure. So, all right, we move on. Going to go ahead and take a look at, so obviously the first part we talked about San Antonio right now in terms of in our collaboration with the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable as far as certain items that will be covered for this year for season 4 of Inside Texas High School Soccer. So now we look at the state of Texas as abroad, where this is now where we will cover it as a whole here. So upcoming key tournaments again, and then everyone's favorite, right? That RPI. Rafa, go ahead and speak to those two, please.
Yeah, so some big tournaments, like I said, well, we just mentioned one they're in Georgetown, they're with the Governor Cup Series. But there's also some other great ones, like the I-10 shootout down in Katy. That was we got to speak to their to organizers there. Well-run tournament, probably one of the best ones there in the Houston area. The Willens tournaments also. We got some San Antonio teams that are actually going to that tournament. Down in the Valley, McAllen runs a great tournament. And then you get your Dallas area tournaments like your NEPS, and then also with the boys side too, they're with Capel. So very, like I said, there are always going to be some competitive tournaments, especially like the one that Capel runs. They bring teams from out of state, and that was actually one of the questions I was asked Coach Venegas is like, has a good, Governor's Cup ever consider bringing out of state teams to play in that tournament? Since they're bringing a lot of those talented Dallas area teams there. So, and then you got some other great tournaments too out west. I know West Texas A&M runs a showcase there. They have a great showcase there, and also you have your El Paso tournament. So there's quite a very competitive, like I said, tournaments that it brings out a lot of interesting matchups. That you maybe normally won't get to see during the season because of district play or because of distance, but it brings out, like they mentioned, like Georgetown mentioned, they're going to play Grapevine. That's gonna be a hell of a game, in that tournament.
Now the RPI, right, the Rafa Power Index, right? So this is a unique perspective. This is kind of something that obviously you'll get exclusively here on Inside Texas High School Soccer. So it's a unique set of rankings. So we look at essentially 20 schools, right? 20 programs, 15 officially ranked, and then 5 are your next 5 in, if you will. But these are, regardless of classification, right? So it's 4A to 6A, so how they stack up pound for pound. And as we have clearly shown over the years, that just because you're a 6A doesn't mean you're going to always, it's going to be a 6A heavy, dominant set of rankings, or exclusively 6A with only 1 or 2 5As and 1 or 2 4As. Nothing like that at all, by any means. And especially because I think we have such a strong 4A classification here in the state of Texas as well. Speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah, it just, like I said, the Power Rank Index just shows, regardless of the classification, how good, some of the talent we have here in Texas. Like last year, our number 1 team in the state for the girls was Salina, and they're 4A. Nobody. You would think, probably would think a 4A team would be that dominant, but they're one of the dominant teams. They actually beat some 6A teams, and we know that's something we discussed, the last season. And and like I said, even especially on the girls' side, we had quite a few 4A teams, kind of dominate a little bit in those top 10 spots. There were very numerous teams. Boys side, I think we had a lot of 6As, but also there was a mix of good 5As, and then your I think your 4A boys are kind of your traditional powers, and but you can see that at that start, you're starting to see some of those new, some new up and coming teams are trying to make us, are starting to make a statement in 4A. And like I said, we'll find out once you get to when I start kind of piecing everything together, who's going to be on those top 20 lists.
Gotcha. Okay. And, so, we move on to some of our other items. One of the key things that I think we'll hit on early, right, in one of our future episodes will be, our 2023 champions review. So this is where we look at last year's champions on both sides of the house, right, all classifications. And, we look at all 6 champions and we look at who we kind of theorize, if you will, who will be most likely to repeat and maybe least likely to repeat, right, as a champion. And a lot of money right now is on Salina on the girls' side, right? So did get to speak with Coach Adams from Salina, from the Salina girls program, and he's definitely excited in terms of what he has coming back and what is also joining them this year. So they will be a tough group, very tough group to stop. Schedules and key dates, that's something else that we want to talk about. That's something that we'll cover. And everything from just what the general schedule is. So, for example, we all know what November next Monday is, right? In November, November 27th, which is the official start of the season, right? We're officially in season. Most schools will kick off their tryouts over the course of 2 to 3 days. Maybe I've seen some that are going to go almost the whole week, right? And then we get to December 8th, which is the start of scrimmages, and then December 28th as well, which is the start of all official in-season games. So we will highlight some of that. We will highlight key dates as it relates to from district certification to the playoff dates. We will look at regional locations for regional tournaments. We'll get into that. We will actually cover, if you remember this, Rafa, we will also we will go region by region and highlight some of our Cinderellas, dark horses, and obviously kind of the elites of who's who within certain districts as well. And then our bread and butter is the playoff coverage, right? Once we enter the state playoffs, which will be in late March, we will bring you exclusive episodes round by round and bring you everyday coverage from the state tournament as well there in Birkelbach. So really looking forward to that. And then again, the realignment impact piece, right? Obviously, Screenshot was just released almost a month ago, right? And obviously you still have some schools with their numbers still coming in. So a lot of speculation on this. And I know a lot of people, it was definitely the subject of heavy conversation with a lot of coaches at Tasco, as well as to they know they kind of have a really good idea in terms of where they're going to land as far as classification, but some of them were maybe just a little bit just kind of anxious or just up in the air as to what their district was going to look like. I think that's the bigger one, right? Is where will they go, right? With some key changes happening. So that will be kind of something very, very interesting, and more to come, more details to come, obviously, on that one as well. So, all right. But that's, excuse me, that's going to do it in terms of key items that we wanted to highlight as far as what we will be covering this year. Frank, from your perspective, in terms of what we've covered, right, whether it's San Antonio local or even at the state at large, thoughts? Can you just share with us a little bit in terms of some of the things that you're thinking about working on or that you will be working on as it relates to Inside Texas High School Soccer and the season?
I want to work this year to try to integrate definitely the RPI as much as possible. Definitely want to get that out there. Maybe he'd need to let me know a couple days in advance and I could just chop it in there, Also, local power rankings and coach and player spotlights. Those are definitely two things that I definitely want to incorporate. We have so many awesome soccer coaches in town, Hector being one of them, on the public side and the private side for sure. So I would just love to be involved in that, and I want to come back on whenever y'all cover Region 4.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. So, and you bring up a great point, right? Is one of the things that we really we continue to want to try to grow and cover is on the private school side, right? So just a lot. I think, as we all know, all of us that collectively cover the game across the state, whether it's locally or across the state, or private, on the private school side, just a lot harder to get information, right? For any number of reasons, right? Any number of reasons. Just a lot of, it's either a lot harder to get information, or it's a lot harder to consistently get information. So we continue to work on that. So if you're a private school coach and you're listening to this, please tag us, please include us, your games. I know locally as well. I know that Rafa's a big proponent of really trying to get out there and cover the private school scene, the private school sector as well. So definitely share that as well. A couple of quick questions here. Frank, from your perspective, what can you tell us, where, for our listeners, where can they go to maybe get more information if they're interested and they want to sign up and register, subscribe to the 50/50 podcast newsletter, amongst other things?
You can go to my Twitter at Frank Court, Frank_Court, III, and subscribe through the Google Form sheet in my link in my bio. I think you might also have some tweets up about it. And once we worked on this thing that was really awesome. We had Hector hack out like a welcome letter, and it was all awesome. And so if you subscribe now, you get all past 3 newsletters that we've done. And I was going back and forth with Hector today. We're working on this season starter kit. We haven't decided on a title yet, but that's what I'm thinking. And it's just going to be like a huddle how-to walkthrough with a bunch of resources that an athlete can like click on if they're wondering how to make better film, and if they're wondering what a tag means versus what a clip is, stuff like that. Post templates. Those are all going to be covered in it. I'm going to work on that over the break and try to get that out before tryouts. So
awesome. And yeah, if you haven't yet, I do recommend, and you can contact us, any of us, regarding more information, the link, the sign up for. In fact, we'll try to see if we can maybe share that, if we can retweet that, Frank, after.
I'll get a tweet out.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Frank's done a phenomenal job, right, in terms of our newsletter editor, as well as our recruiting coordinator, in terms of his years of background of what he brings from his time, as well as a campaign coordinator at College Promoters USA. He's a wealth of knowledge in what he's doing as well, on the email side, on the newsletter side, and then just the plans, again, that we have for the website. Please take advantage of these resources. It costs nothing. It costs nothing, and there's a ton of information there. If you're new to the recruiting world, you're trying to figure out where you should start, right? Tons in the newsletters we've already put out. We've provided great information, basic to advanced, just kind of depends where you're at on that spectrum. But we've put out great info. Frank has done a fabulous job on that. Our very first one, which was our film focus, right? Remember our very first one, our film focus, in terms of what college coaches are looking for based upon position. That was phenomenal. That in itself, I've gotten a lot of feedback on as well. Frank?
I was just going to say, I also updated the camp list for November. I'll be continuing to circle back to that. I got to go add the coach that you interviewed on Monday. I got to add that program. But I have seen at least 5 or 6 programs that you've interviewed post their camp list. So if you are a current subscriber and you've checked out that link before, just be sure to continue to check it out. It's a rolling list. We'll continue to update it as they come.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Frank. Really appreciate you. And Rafa, tell us kind of thoughts going forward, plans, key dates, launch dates for the San Antonio Soccer Roundtable, some of the stuff that you and our good friend Harry are working on as well for the Roundtable.
Yeah, Harry and I, we've been discussing kind of the launch, kind of like today. So we'll be on the lookout for that. So follow us. Like I said, we're on Twitter or X, YouTube, Facebook. We now have an Instagram page too as well. It's maybe a bit more active. So maybe I'll get Matt to help out there. But I'm, like I said, looking forward to, going to a lot of the games. I'll probably be at some of the scrimmages. Not really gonna, live stream them. Just maybe some clips, some highlights of what's out there, and then, give some feedback on there. being not on it, for some people who are maybe new or watching, like I said, I'm a former high school soccer coach. I used to coach Del Rio. So then also have my club coaching, have my license and so forth. So I have lots of experience there in the coaching side, especially on the high school side. So, but like I said, I like doing the games with Steve, and maybe Frank can come on board and help commentary a couple of games with me, and so just help analyze, and and then it's always fun. Like I said, the main thing, like I said, I know with the round table and Harry's vision too, even dating back with Scott, our vision is to maybe here for San Antonio is to showcase the players and the programs and so forth, not just about the favorite teams and this and that. We want to showcase what we have here in the 210 and the surrounding areas, because we do cover like New Braunfels and Medina Valley and so forth. And but we're just looking for this season. I'm excited about it because it's here, especially in San Antonio. It's going to be wide open, and it's going to be wide open. We'll see who if I don't know with the girls' side for 6A, get that little monkey off their back from the Austin teams, and maybe hopefully we'll get one of the boys teams to get back to the state tournament.
Yeah, and and thank you again, Rafa, for that. We're equally blessed in terms of as our team continues to grow here with the 50/50 podcast, as well as to have you as well, Rafa, and his expertise. He's one who definitely knows the state of Texas, especially South Texas, and as a former high school coach as well. So we're lucky to have you. Obviously, Harry, who does a ton behind the scenes in terms of just local rankings and just a lot of support stuff behind the scenes as well. Harry as well. And then, of course, who's not with us tonight is one of our other. He's no longer a rookie. We can't call him a rookie anymore, right? So our other coach, our coaching friend who's not here tonight, Steve Sanchez, who came on board last year. And we're lucky to have as well just a heck of a statistician and historian of the game, and very familiar, great expertise of North Texas as well. So yeah, the team continues to grow. If you have any insight, any interest in terms of being an independent supporter of the podcast, then maybe being part of the team going forward, do not hesitate to reach out. We're always looking for different, independent correspondents, whatever we can do to get to help continue to grow in terms of our coverage beyond, San Antonio, South Texas, obviously, but throughout the state of Texas. And we're looking forward to it as well. So, but that's going to do it. That's going to do it for season 4, episode 1. I can't believe it's season 4. Wow. But yeah, excited for another great year, and definitely going to be bringing you all kinds of great coverage. So please be on the lookout, telling the stories of coaches, players as well. And then you tell us some of the stuff that you would like to see covered as well. So we're definitely open to that and always looking for that as well. So, but that's going to do it. Final thoughts and stoppage time here. We'll take it away. We'll start with you, Frank. Final thoughts.
This year, I want to do a really good job of reposting athletes' film. And I know you're already on it, so just if you're an athlete thinking of trying to get more exposure for your film, maybe follow me at the 50/50 pod. Definitely do that. If I see Hector repost a film, I'll do my best to repost the film. I have a few college coaches that follow me. Not very many. I'm working on it. You just got to continue. Also, Brandeis is going to win 28-6A.
Wow.
Boys or girls?
Boys.
Calling it already. Wow. Okay. Man, we'll see if you still. So
Johnson might have something to say about that.
I know. I've seen Johnson. The tape is good. But I don't know. Brandeis, they're a little older.
That district, I want to tell you that district is going to be our barn burner. It's always been a barn burner these last few years. Yeah. They're going to be full of surprises again this year.
Yeah. Hey, when we remind you later in the year, Frank, don't be saying, I meant to say girls, not boys. I meant to say girls. I know you try to pull a fast one.
Give a shout out to Coach Mayer there. They're at Brandeis.
Yes. Frank calling his shot already. Wow. All right. Rafa, final thoughts?
So I'm just like I said, just looking forward for the season. It's it's been a while since we did the last episode, and we talked about the state championships, and I think there's a lot more going into this because, like I said, with the exposure and also with realignment now being part of this, kind of the story, and just like I said, looking forward to seeing some of these teams who's going to rise up to the occasion, or is it, or the usual suspects, or your Cinderellas or your dark horses.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's just so much, man. I don't even know where to begin. But yeah, it's a ton. I thought about that as I was getting ready to say, well, what do I want to wrap up with? But yeah, there's just so much that we're going to get to. Obviously, tons of episodes. Excited to be working another year here with you guys. And again, as our team continues to grow, very, very proud, very excited to see what this is becoming. But to our student athletes, our coaches, our student athletes, our parents, or just fans and supporters. Maybe you're a Booster Club member, right, whose son or daughter used to play, right, and you just love soccer. We're here for all of you. And our big thing is to unify the sport, unify the community, grow the sport as best as we can, and to keep things positive as we can. And in support of one another. We're lucky, we're blessed to, and we're not the only outlet there that covers Texas high school soccer. We know that, and that's a good thing. So collectively take all that in. And I think one thing that I've made clear as we left Tasco last week was that Texas high school soccer is just different, right? Kind of taking a little page from the SEC there. It's just different, and that's a good thing. It really is. It's a good thing. So I'm excited for another year. Excited to be working with all of you guys. Excited to be covering just the best sport in the best state. Definitely excited. And I will obviously be recusing myself from anything that is 5A in the greater San Antonio area, right? So just so you know, so anytime it involves anything like that or 27 5A, I will definitely defer to you guys for that. But yeah, always keeping it objective, and excited to be working another year for our listeners, for our supporters. Again, you can, if you are viewing this, obviously you can see it at the header of our screen here. But if you're just hearing this later, again, you can find us. You can follow us on Twitter, X, Twix, whatever. I heard someone calling it Twix the other day.
Twix.
as well as Twitch. You can find us at 50_50 pod. Please give us a follow. You can also follow us at Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube. Please go on there, subscribe to the channel. That's one of the quickest ways. The more we can get added to that algorithm and come up and continue to put out great content, you can find us there at the 50_50 podcast as well. So excited. Last piece of information that I got there. Rafa, what do you got there? You look like you're the scarf. I forgot about it. Yeah.
Well, shout out to Global Scars. They also did the scarves for FTC, the San Antonio Soccer Supporter Group for San Antonio FC. Great job. The guys love the scarves. So props to Global Scarves.
Global Scarves, yeah. And highlighted them yesterday, as well as our good friends at Gipper. But yeah, Kyle Wall as well as Bill, got to see them last week at Tasco as well. So huge supporters of what we're trying to do here in Texas with Texas high school soccer. So love them. They're awesome. They're a great group. Please consider using them for your schools as well. Or if you have a personal supporter group that you want to do, right? Please consider them. They do great work. Absolutely great work. And they'll work with you. Phenomenal customer service as well. But as I wrap up here, last words, I kind of what I wanted to share is, we all know next Monday marks the start of the season. Many of you will be nervous going into tryouts, right? Just do your best. That's all you can do, right? Control the controllables, focus on what you control, and just and play your game. That's all you can do, right? Just focus on what's within your control. And the last piece, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And then as we look forward, make sure you stay eligible, hit the books, stay in the classroom as we prep for finals over the course of the next couple of weeks. Stay eligible, because the greatest ability is availability. And if you can't even step on the field due to grades, then your talent doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter how great you are. So looking forward to covering all of you, telling your stories in 2024. So best of luck to everybody, all our coaches, all our student athletes. Obviously, everybody's undefeated right now. So we look forward to covering it, see who will be the last teams remaining in Birkelbach in April. So until the next time, you know what to do. Keep downloading and keep listening. You've been listening to the 50/50 podcast, powered by National Scouting Report. Help us continue to grow by liking, rating, and subscribing on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at 50_50pod, on Instagram at 50_50 podcast, as well as on YouTube at the 50_50 podcast. Until the next time, keep downloading.